We're thrilled to have welcomed our first grandbaby recently. But growing this precious human hasn't been easy on our daughter. The unrelenting pregnancy fatigue really took it out of her.
One thing that helped was keeping her fluids up, and she loved Rehydrate. Rehydrate is an essential electrolyte drink made by some great guys right here in Brizzy. It's safe during pregnancy and breastfeeding and is like a magical little energy and hydration boost for mum and bub.
If you're growing a little human or are just feeling a little run down, grab some at Coles today.
It's the Happy Families podcast with Dr. Justin Coulson, the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now. And today we're talking about a subject that is top of mind for Dr. Justin Coulson, which is helping our children find their tribe. I'm Susie. Luke's joining me as well as we get into this discussion. Dr. Justin Coulson, always great to see you.
It's so good to be here.
Thank you for being here. Now, helping our children find a tribe, this is front of mind for you at the moment, right? What's brought it to the front of your mind? Do you mind me asking?
I got asked to write an article about kids making friends, but perhaps more than that, I've just finished writing the manuscript for my next book. It's about teenage girls. It's being edited right now. It comes out early next year. I'm so excited about it. One of the biggest issues that teenage girls face, it's not just a teenage girl issue, by the way. I mean, this is universal, even for us as adults, but certainly for our kids, is trying to fit in. Social groups are so important. As humans, we are ultra social. And when for teenage girls in particular, quite often they'll... what's the word I'm looking for? I was going to say hook up, but I can't use that word the way I might have 10 years ago. But they'll make friends with a whole bunch of kids who they think it's good to be friends with, but they're not really their people.
Yeah.
And when we don't have strong friendships, we tend to struggle. We're more likely to experience anxiety and depression. We're more likely to hate going to school, or the kids are at least. We just don't tend to flourish as well. We struggle when we don't have rock solid friendships with people who are like us, people who are part of who we are. You hear the phrase, they're my people.
You belong.
You belong there. Yeah. That's right. And when our kids find their tribe, something lights up inside them. They feel so happy. They feel so joyful. And I was thinking about this in relation to the teenage girls and kids generally. What is it that makes them join a tribe that isn't really their tribe? And what can we do to help them find their own?
Oh, this is a good question because, yes, I'm looking forward to the book about teenage girls, but I have a preteen boy who struggles in this area of friendship and finding his people because he's so different to our other two. The other two are natural magnets for kids, but this one is not. Not that he's repulsive, but he's really struggled to find his people. So I'm keen to get your ideas on this, on how to help our children, because it feels like something I shouldn't be involved with as a parent in a way.
Oh, I know. Do you step in or do you step out? There's a couple of things that I need to highlight. First thing is, just because kids are shy or introverted doesn't mean that they can't find a tribe. In fact, usually just one significant other is often enough. But we don't need to stress that our kids are shy or quiet or introverted and therefore they're not going to have any friends. Plenty of people I know who are very, very quiet people who have some deep and rich friendships. They've found their tribe just fine. So that's the first thing that I would suggest. The second thing is that idea that you mentioned, Susie. It's so tempting as parents to step in and force friendships to happen. Doesn't tend to work out so well most of the time. Our kids need to have some level of autonomy. They might need a bit of encouragement, and certainly we can arrange play dates, or we can arrange meetups, or we can take them to the movies with friends, or have parties or weekend gatherings to encourage friendships to grow. But ultimately, the kids have eventually got to do the heavy lifting of sharing something of themselves and having that reciprocated by another. Okay. So I've got three things that we can do to help our kids find their tribe.
I don't know about you, but I'm ready with pen and paper. Yeah. Well, actually, I've got my computer here with me with an email open addressed to myself, the subject line, helping kids find their tribe. And I'm just going to take notes while you give us...
so good.
I need the answer to this question about, particularly for one of our children, to help him find his tribe.
Because he is shy, which is what you said is not a disqualifier for this, but he is also, and I joked about it, he is also slightly strange in that he sees and processes the world uniquely to most of the children he's encountered. It's so beautiful when you unpack it. And when he becomes an adult, it won't be an issue because you sort of learn how you see the world differently. But at the moment, I think it's a part of why the kids he's started to hang out with, he hasn't fit with because they don't see the world he sees it. So what are the 3 steps to help him? So we just want to go, here, this kid, your friends, go.
Yeah.
But how do we do it?
Okay, the first one, it sounds really simple. It's kind of like the most obvious, from the University of Duh kind of advice, and yet it's actually really complicated. The first piece of advice is this: encourage them to join a team or a group of some kind. Now, this might be a church group, it could be a football team, it could be... I've got a friend, you're talking about people who are strange. I think this is strange. He doesn't think it's strange at all, but he's one of those... He's got those make-believe swords and medieval costumes, and I can't remember what it's called.
Cosplay.
No. It's a different... Like, cosplay is more about the cartoon character, like heroes.
It's not that. It's actually... Yeah, medieval sort of stuff. And this is completely normal to him. I think it's a bit strange, but they love it. And I think how wonderful that he's not on his own, that there are so many people that actually are into that. Sometimes we might need to experiment, and this is where it gets tricky, because we might put them into this sport or into this club or into this hobby, and after 3 weeks they say, don't like it, haven't got any friends. And so we've got to deal with that issue of friendships take time, and so does skill acquisition. We've got to work out the balance of, am I going to get them to do it for 12 weeks, for a term, for a year, for 3 years? At what point do I say, we've given that a good go, no friends, no skills, let's try something else? Yeah. But as parents, we've got to use our wisdom there. The reality is, not every kid's going to make friends at school. If you've got the finances to shop around for schools, or if you've got the opportunity to try different things, that might work. I know in our family that has been very important, but not everybody gets to do that. And ironically, the more expensive school wasn't necessarily the best school. We found a much cheaper option that seemed to match our kids far better. The second idea is one of my favorites, and that is that we want to dispel the cult of celebrity. Now, here's what I mean by that. Too often our kids get caught up in wanting to be in the wrong crowd. And when I say the wrong crowd, I don't mean a bunch of kids doing the wrong thing. I mean a crowd that's not attuned or aligned with the natural leanings and strengths of our child. So it's usually a child that desperately, like me when I was a teenager, wants to hang out with the cool kids, even though we didn't share any interests and we didn't have anything in common, didn't even have shared values. And in fact, I got mocked by the cool kids all the time for trying to hang out with them because I wasn't a cool kid. Being part of the school celebrity group, though, is just such hard work if you're not really part of it. It's super competitive. It's big personalities. It's this cutthroat ethic. You're either in or you're out. Yeah. And I've got a wonderful friend, Rebecca Sparrow. She wrote a book called Find Your Tribe, and she said this, and I quote, "Don't think for a second that hanging around with the cool group will make you seem attractive. There's nothing attractive about someone who behaves like a sheep and follows a leader. You're way better off hanging around with your tribe."
Yeah.
So if we can help our kids to recognize that the cult of celebrity in the schoolyard is actually meaningless, which is really hard when you're in the schoolyard and it seems like it's everything. If we can dispel that myth, powerful things can happen. One of my kids recently said to me, "Dad, I'm not one of the cool kids, and I've made peace with that because I know who I am and I know what I stand for, and I don't like what the cool kids do. It's taken me this many years to figure it out, but I've got a couple of good friends and that's good enough for me."
Yeah.
The last idea, this is actually my favorite: encourage introspection. And here's what I mean by that. Kids get really excited or really anxiety prone about their friends. We've already talked about that, and they want to be popular and that kind of thing. But I think that it pays to encourage them to just be quietly introspective and ask the following 2 crucial questions. Question number 1, do I like myself when I'm around these people?
Ooh. Yep.
And question 2, do I feel like I'm being true to who I am when I'm around these people?
Sorry, my typing's just catching up. Do I feel like I'm being true
I'll email it to you, Susie.
to who I am when I'm around these people?
Yeah. Do I feel like I'm being true to me? Do I live with integrity when I hang around these people? Because when your kids answer yes to those questions, it means they've found their tribe. They've found their people. They're their authentic selves, and they're around people who are supporting that authenticity.
Because that's interesting, because that takes potentially from just being around someone who you can have fun with and enjoy to there's another level of what your tribe is, and that's who they enable you to be.
we're diving into values. I know we're getting a bit deep for a conversation like this, but this is what our kids are craving.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the schoolyard does not encourage this. The schoolyard's all about being popular. It's all about being cool. It's all about being the celebrity of the school. And so many of our kids get caught up in just wanting to be around the cool kid. If they can find others, though, who appreciate them for who they are, who share common values and allow them to be their authentic self, that is, if they're able to say, yes, I like myself when I'm around this person, I don't feel like I have to try to be something that I'm not or someone that I'm not, that's when we're starting to help them to find their people.
So good.
Very good. Dr. Justin Coulson. So just, if you've forgotten, Susie was taking notes and just sent that to herself.
Sent my email to myself.
Because she needed to
go
remind
over that later.
It's quite funny because we started this conversation thinking about one of our children. I've finished it thinking about a completely different child and the help that we need to give him to navigate this space. Dr. Justin Coulson, amazing conversation about helping our children find their tribes. Thank you so much.
I just love being with you guys. Thanks.
To find out more on this and many other topics, go to happyfamilies.com.au. Or, of course, if you're interested in having Dr. Justin Coulson come and speak at your school or event, find out more at justincoulson.com.